Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post. Hollywood is shocked and confused and upset because Trump is saying he's going to put a 100% tariff on films produced outside the United States. Hey, Hollywood studios, stop being so clever and collaborating directly with foreign governments to get cash subsidies for taking Hollywood projects and moving them outside the United States for production. Because while that's great for foreign countries and it's great for studios, and producers make out pretty well on this as well, but the below the line people, like who actually physically shoot the film, for the most part, regular people working on the physical production of making the movie, they lose out. And we lose out on the economic impact that we could otherwise get if we had a production done in the United States. You could do it in California. You could do it in Georgia. We have 30 states in the United States that offer tax rebates. Different states offer different deals. But if you pick up and take Hollywood productions outside the United States, films for right now, Trump is not talking about TV shows. He's not talking about animated shows. He's not talking about animated movies. We'll see. He may expand to that. But if you take these productions outside the United States, hardworking people that do physically make these projects, sound stages, our whole industry that supports Hollywood production, whether it's in California or not, goes away to foreign countries. So yeah, for the studios that have been collaborating with these foreign governments to get the foreign tax incentives, that time is up. There are questions about, well, how is this going to affect foreign films that come into the United States? Who's going to be forced to pay these tariffs? And there are complexities. There could even be like joint productions where a Hollywood studio is working with another studio in Germany or investors somewhere else. This impacts investors as well, people that just put cash into projects, investment vehicles. The idea here is this. Hey, studios, stop taking all of this American industry and collaborating directly with foreign governments to eliminate U.S. jobs. It's the same thing we're doing to China and every other country that has a tariff issue with us right now, which is pretty much every country. The idea is to protect the American market and American jobs and American industry. Additionally, there is a national security issue that Trump is raising with this, saying that foreign countries, China was one of them for many years, that are doing a lot of business with Hollywood are in too strong of a position to dictate what our content can be in our films. For several years now, China has not been featured as a villain when they could easily be featured as a villain in American films. Part of that had to do with investment. Part of that had to do with trying to get China to allow us to put our movies into China. And it has affected the content. This is trying to correct that. From Variety, movie industry shocked and confused after Trump says he'll put 100% tariffs on films produced outside the U.S. Quote, "This is nuts. The target of this is not movies that are made overseas by foreign studios. That may be impacted, we'll have to see. The target of this is American studios giving away American productions and economic impact to foreign countries and doing it in direct collaboration with foreign governments. When you think about it, it does sound pretty bad." And from a Hollywood Reporter, Trump says he's instituting a 100% tariff on films produced outside the U.S. because the movie industry in America is dying. The president posted that Hollywood and other areas are being devastated due to a concerted effort by other nations, which constitutes a national security threat. This is not completely organic. Foreign governments are deliberately doing this. And while a lot of people in the industry have noticed that, yeah, this is becoming a big problem, no one has taken any significant action to fix it. Only Trump is taking aggressive action on this so far. And before we get too crazy about the impact, this really is about, for the most part, very wealthy studios getting even wealthier. It's not like they can't produce their content in the United States. It's not like they must have these tax rebates from foreign countries and foreign governments to be able to do business. For one thing, they did make movies before they were getting massive foreign tax rebates. Even like a company like Disney that is a big company and spends a lot of money on these foreign productions, even if the tariff was 100%, they could easily pay the 100% tariff. August 2024, Disney spent $5 billion for films and TV production across UK and EMEA. That's over a course of 5 years of them spending like $1 billion a year on this foreign production. They can spend $1 billion They could lose $1 billion if they lost $1 billion. They're not going to lose $1 billion over this. There are plenty of states in the United States Disney can get tax rebates in. This is disruptive for them. It's not like this is going to be easy to deal with. But it's no significant financial threat to Disney. Even going back a few years, Disney spent an additional $20 billion to buy Fox that they had no intention of spending. They already had their price fixed. But another company, Comcast, came in and got Disney to bid up another $20 billion on top of the purchase price. And they paid it, no problemo. Disney has lost at least $1 billion, if not $1.5 billion on woke movies alone. That's expensive, but they can afford to lose the money. Disney bought Hulu out from Comcast just a couple of years ago. What was the final figure? Something like $10 billion, $12 billion, $8 billion? It was a bunch of billion. It didn't really matter to Disney. They had the money anyway. That money is much more than this money. What this move does the most is it affects people personally profiting off the current system. People who are very wealthy who can afford to make a little bit less money. And it protects American jobs. When this all goes through and productions start to have to shift to the United States, the economic impact to the United States is going to be tremendous. Huge, huge financial benefit. And a big boost to the domestic film industry. President Donald Trump's plan to enforce a 100% tariff on foreign-produced films was met with shock and disbelief across the European film industry. Because we have been supporting the European film industry and European economic activity brought by this film production for years now. And it's all been done at the expense of Americans. It was unclear how the tariffs, which were announced over the weekend on social media, would be enforced and which productions are most vulnerable to the tariffs. Yet there are widespread concerns that if they're enacted, which they're very likely to be, they may not be, but I'm going to give it about a 90% chance. Trump's latest moves have the potential to upend and potentially decimate a global film business that relies on a network of international incentives and foreign locations to make movies. This is also a response from Trump to a rumor that he was going to get pitched that the federal government should subsidize American film productions to be competitive with foreign countries. To just think that federal taxpayers, not just states, they get the direct economic impact locally in their states and compete with each other, that's okay. But that the federal government, that is already in tremendous debt, is then going to go and pay Hollywood tens of millions or hundreds or millions or billions of dollars from the federal treasury so that Hollywood could make even more money so we might not lose as much production. And then we could continue to compete with other foreign governments with our own federal tax dollars to try to get American business? That's not going to happen. Everything from low-budget independent films to studio blockbusters are currently being made in countries like the UK, France, Germany, and Hungary. Even Mel Gibson, who is one of the 3 Hollywood special ambassadors appointed by Trump, to much mockery. Hollywood didn't appreciate that. I guess it's not so funny now. Maybe they should have reached out and tried to get Mel Gibson a little bit more closely involved with some plans on how to rejuvenate the industry. Because if you make Trump do it, he's going to go to his favorite word, which, as he says, is tariffs. Currently, Mel Gibson is planning to shoot a Passion of the Christ sequel in Italy. The reaction in the UK, where so many US movies are filming, has been most vitriolic. Boy, are they upset. They're about to lose a lot of money. Quote, "This makes no sense," a UK producer railed. "It implies that a US film is meant to shoot in the US. But the Harry Potter films, Lord of the Rings, Schindler's List, Mission Impossible, Gladiator, Aviator, and so many other US films that are shot overseas are shot that way for obvious reasons. Do these films have to shoot in the US from now on? It's an absurd announcement with no meaning or understanding of storytelling or creative impulses. Creative impulses. So we need to give up all of the American film production industry to foreign governments for tax incentives because of creative impulses. Well, you've got CGI. Mission Impossible does a beautiful job of going to multiple locations in multiple countries. That's part of the franchise. Harry Potter films, being able to film in a real beautiful castle, may not be able to be replicated easily in the United States. How about the beautiful scenery of Lord of the Rings? Could you really recreate that in the United States? Maybe, maybe not. We have CGI, we have AI. AI is obviously going to be coming into the equation a lot more aggressively now. You can't tariff AI out of existence. And of course, there would be some exceptions to this conceptually about like, well, how do you do certain things that can only be done in other countries? But those are the exceptions. They're not the rules. And if the exceptions were legitimately treated as exceptions, okay, 1/10 of our production, 1/15 of our production, 18% of our production is done overseas to accommodate these special things and occasionally to make some extra money on tax benefits. Understandable. But when it's a nonstop, the US loses production while Hollywood studios collaborate with foreign governments to take our industry away, at some point it's going to get stopped, and now it's getting stopped. Another British producer said, quote, even unemployed Americans are saying this is nuts. These are people who have genuinely had their careers shattered because of production moving to Europe. I've seen some of that, but I've seen some of the opposite of that as well. There are a lot of people that are anti-Trump for any possible reason they could be anti-Trump, of course, to their own self-detriment, because a lot of what he's doing is just to protect American jobs. But there are people that understand that they're no longer going to have to leave the industry if the industry starts getting protected against foreign governments. Another London-based producer said this, quote, if this goes the distance, it will decimate the industry. But you can't just stop production, he said. When does it come into effect? What about movies in pre-production that are shooting or in post, meaning post-production? Would you just double their costs? None of this has been thought through. So I think the calm response is, let's see what this means. Let's see the fine print. I spoke to a film producer friend of mine, and he wasn't all that surprised about this. He said, maybe they'll give 120 days to let this phase in. Projects are already in production. When you allocate for production, there has to be a certain amount of money that's set aside to do these kinds of things. Projects could go bankrupt, completely collapse if you just threw this on tomorrow and said, okay, as of tomorrow, you need to pay these fees if you're going to bring this product into the United States. For what I've seen Trump do, I've seen him make these announcements, create chaos, have people try to accept the new reality, and then he dials back a little bit, and then he dials up again. My expectation would be there'd be at least a 6-month grace period on anything like this. There may be certain standards for a limit of this budget being so low that it's not even being included in this. But I would expect at least a 6-month grace period, or 6 months at 0%, then another 6 months at 50%, but 12 months from now is 100%. So plan your productions accordingly. And some of the dialing back comes from the response and the legitimate hysterical responses from people that it affects, like with auto parts. Originally, there was no exclusion for auto parts coming in from overseas. Then the people who otherwise would say, oh, I need this, I need this, I need this, I need this, organize their arguments and decide and figure out and say, okay, well, I know my business. I know what's most important to me, like what's really going to damage me. Here's what I really need. Can you possibly do this for me, please? The rest I'll deal with on this kind of timetable. That's what they did with auto parts. That's going to be what they do with this as well. The World Trade Organization has said that you're not supposed to be charging tariffs on digital goods until at least 2026. But I don't think the Trump administration cares that much about the World Trade Organization. So that's not going to save these studios. Right now, production in the United States is down 40% after Hollywood resolved strikes with the actors and screenwriters unions, and some major films, including the next Avengers movies, have already planned filming for the UK and other European cities. Incentives are partly responsible for the move, although many states such as Georgia and New York offer generous film funding packages that rival those of other countries. So what is with the collaboration between film studios and foreign governments for tax incentives? Are there payments that we're not aware of that are maybe off the books someplace? I don't know. Hollywood lobbying arms such as the Motion Picture Association have argued that the U.S. needs a federal film incentive as a carrot to lure productions back. Trump appears to have opted for using tariffs as a stick because the federal government of the United States is not going to compete with the UK or with Romania or with Hungary or Bulgaria, any of these other countries, for our own business. It really is a ridiculous notion. And no, Trump is not going to sell to the US people that this is an industry that we need to directly subsidize. It's an American industry. On Sunday, Trump's message was getting passed around Hollywood as executives joined emergency meetings to try to make sense of a proposal that's still dimly understood because the proposal is not clear about the taxes. But the purpose is clear. US film productions, for the most part, belong in the US. Before news dropped of Trump's plan, the president of France's National Film Board feared the Trump administration would start targeting movie theaters and audiovisual media and argued that everyone would lose out, starting with the U.S. industry itself. Quote, Europe and France in particular are major markets for American works, which he says represent roughly 60% of the content that people consume in Europe. Another European film executive said this, quote, we know how much American productions benefit from our tax incentives, and above all, from that ecosystem of beauty, locations, climate, culture, style, knowledge, for which they've always chosen Italy, seeking quality that cannot be found elsewhere, he said. Another executive said, quote, but I think the U.S. studios will continue to shoot abroad when they want exotic locations. They aren't going to start shooting James Bond in Detroit, he said. Executives and the filmmakers who make their living in the Middle East are also anxious about what the tariffs could mean for their business. Quote, the entire global production services industry is being hit by this, said Dubai-based global media advisor Hans Freken, who is also former head of the Abu Dhabi Film Commission. Quote, they just don't know which way to go right now, he added. Quote, I'm working with a state in India that is working on designing and building a film studio city, including sound stages. Obviously, they're counting heavily on Hollywood productions. I haven't talked to them yet, but how are they going to react? Well, it's going to be a little bit less work for people in India taking Hollywood productions away. According to Freken, the impact of Trump's tariffs could be devastating even in the U.S. He is skeptical that the added costs that would come with moving all shooting to domestic locations would substantially increase jobs over the long run. Quote, ultimately, it's going to push the studios to make much heavier use of AI, he argued. And he's right about that. AI is coming one way or another. And you can do AI right here in the United States in combination with American human talent. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Always love to see your ideas. Please make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another story. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.